My beloved child, stop here for a moment. Do not rush past these words. Let your hands become still. Take a slow breath and remain quiet long enough to notice what followed you into this moment. I see the message you feel compelled to answer, even though something within you is asking for time. I see the boundary you are preparing to abandon because another person became disappointed. I see the purchase promising a few minutes of relief, the responsibility you keep postponing because beginning feels overwhelming, and the conversation you continue replaying long after everyone else has left the room. My child, listen gently. The names have changed, the places have changed, the circumstances have changed. Yet the pressure feels familiar, the reaction feels familiar, even the regret waiting on the other side feels familiar. You have stood at this doorway before. I am not revealing this to punish you, but to awaken you. This is not rejection, it is mercy. This is not proof that you are hopeless. It is evidence that what once operated in darkness can now be recognized in the light. Enough. Not enough of you. Enough of the cycle. Enough of fear making decisions in your name. Enough of temporary relief becoming tomorrow's burden. Enough of abandoning your peace to preserve what keeps draining you. My beloved child, freedom may not begin when another person finally apologizes. It may not begin when every obstacle disappears, when every desire is satisfied, or when the world becomes easier to control. Freedom may begin here when the old trigger returns and meets a response it has never encountered before. You cannot control every door that closes, every voice that pressures you, or every feeling that rises without warning, but your response can be renewed. Your next step can be chosen. The old ending is not required simply because the old beginning has appeared again. For now, hold one pattern quietly in your mind. Do not excuse it. Do not condemn yourself for it. Do not try to solve everything at once. Simply name the cycle that has taken enough from you. And as you hold it before me, I will show you why the old response feels unavoidable while the pressure is rising, yet feels so painfully wrong once the moment has passed. My beloved child, in the moment of pressure, the old response does not feel like a choice. It feels necessary. It feels as though you must answer before the silence becomes rejection. Defend yourself before the misunderstanding becomes permanent. Spend before the comfort disappears, or escape before the responsibility overwhelms you. Then the night passes, the emotion settles, morning comes, and what felt unavoidable begins to look costly. You reread the words you sent. You remember the boundary you surrendered. You see the money that is gone, the work that remains unfinished, the peace that was traded for a few moments of relief, and you ask yourself, why did I do this again? I know why, my child. You have repeated the response so often that familiarity has begun to sound like truth. Fear calls itself instinct. Over-explaining calls itself loyalty. Control calls itself protection. Panic calls itself urgency. Yet, a reaction does not become wise simply because it arrives quickly, and a feeling does not become a command simply because it arrives loudly. Pressure narrows the room until you can see only two doors. Answer now or lose them. Buy this now or remain empty. Do it perfectly or do not begin. Abandon the boundary or be left alone. But those are not the only doors. Listen to me gently. Intensity deserves your attention, but it does not deserve unquestioned authority. Truth can remain steady, while emotion rises and falls around it. Truth does not need panic to make itself powerful. Some of these responses began when you were trying to survive rejection, conflict, loneliness, lack, or uncertainty. You learned to agree quickly, so anger would stop. You learned to chase so abandonment would hurt less. You learned to spend so emptiness would become quiet. You learned to delay so failure could not judge your effort. I do not shame the frightened version of you that learned those ways. But what once felt like protection may now be a chain. What once helped you endure a room may now keep you returning to it. The relationship is new, but the pursuit is old. The paycheck is larger, but the spending still seeks the same relief. The opportunity is different, but the same fear delays your beginning. The faces change. The scenery changes. The pattern keeps wearing new clothes. My beloved child, that moment of recognition is not a sentence against you. It is an alarm of mercy. You are noticing the cycle earlier because you are being invited to leave it sooner. Do not judge your entire life tonight. Do not try to untangle every year in one breath. Choose one recent moment and slow it down. Look at what happened before the reaction, what you told yourself, what rose inside you, what you did, and what followed. And as we examine that single moment together, I will show you the hidden chain from the first trigger to the regret that quietly prepares the cycle to begin again. My beloved child, what has felt like one overwhelming moment is actually a chain, and when the links remain hidden, the reaction feels mysterious. But when each link is brought into the light, you begin to see where freedom can enter. First comes the trigger. The trigger is what happened, not what you feared it meant. A message went unanswered. Someone criticized you. A bill became overdue. Evening came and loneliness entered the room. A task looked larger than your confidence. Someone pushed against a boundary you had already made clear. Then comes the story. Before you have gathered the facts, the mind begins speaking. I am being rejected. I must defend myself. I will lose this opportunity. I deserve something that makes me feel better. I cannot handle this. I will fix it tomorrow. My child, the story awakens the emotion. Your chest tightens, your thoughts race, heat rises, dread settles over you, anger demands a voice, craving demands relief. Restlessness tells you that something must happen now. Then comes the automatic response. You send the message. You return to the relationship that keeps wounding you. You make the purchase. You disappear into the screen. You speak words you cannot retrieve. You agree while everything within you is saying no. You postpone what still must be faced. And for a moment, it works. You feel control. You receive reassurance. You become numb. Someone approves of you. The tension leaves your body. The difficult task moves out of sight. This immediate relief is the small reward that keeps the chain strong. But the reward fades, and the cost remains. Damaged trust, financial strain, lost hours, weakened boundaries, deeper dependence, and another reason to doubt yourself. Then, regret arrives. You make a dramatic promise. Never again. But if shame is the only plan, the cycle has not been broken. The trigger remains unexamined. The environment remains unchanged. The next response remains unprepared. Look closely. A reply does not come, and you tell yourself you are being abandoned. Anxiety rises. You send several impulsive messages. Relief comes when you feel you have done something, but later you feel exposed and ashamed. A difficult day ends, and you tell yourself you deserve immediate comfort. The craving rises. You buy what you did not plan to buy. Excitement quiets the ache briefly, but the bill carries that ache into tomorrow. A responsibility feels intimidating, and you tell yourself you must do it perfectly. Dread rises. You avoid it through distraction. Relief comes because judgment has been delayed, but the unfinished work returns heavier than before. My beloved child, this is not a locked prison. It is a chain with several links, and a new choice can enter at more than one place. Now complete these sentences quietly. The trigger is, the story I tell myself is, the feeling that rises is, the response I repeat is, the relief it gives me is, the lasting cost is. Then ask yourself one honest question. What relief am I buying now, and what price do I repeatedly pay later? I know this inventory may awaken shame, but do not turn away. I am not bringing you into condemnation. I am bringing you into responsibility, because condemnation says you are powerless, while responsibility places the next choice back into your hands. My beloved child, I am not showing you this chain to humiliate you. I am showing you what can now be changed. I am not uncovering the pattern so you will hate yourself, but so you will stop calling a practiced response your permanent identity. Shame says, this is who you are. Ownership says, this is what you have learned to do, and with truth, grace, and practice, you can learn another way. I know that some reactions grew inside real pain. Betrayal taught you to watch for abandonment. Manipulation taught you to question your own judgment. Conflict taught you to agree before anger could rise. Pressure taught you to rush. Loneliness taught you to accept what wounded you, rather than face an empty room. These experiences help explain the response, but they do not make every later reaction harmless. They reveal where compassion is needed and where healing must begin. They are part of your history, my child. They do not have to write your future. Listen carefully. You are responsible for your choices, your words, your boundaries, and the doors you keep reopening. You are not responsible for another person's dishonesty. You are not responsible for managing their anger, completing their healing, or persuading them to change. Refusing mistreatment is not failure. Leaving a destructive exchange is not cruelty. And admitting that you repeatedly returned does not excuse the person who repeatedly harmed you. Accountability tells the whole truth. Self-blame makes you carry what was never yours. Come before me honestly. Confession is not a performance of self-hatred. Repentance is a return to truth. It says, I chose this. It caused harm. I will turn and prepare another way. Do not call yourself weak when the precise truth is that you abandoned a boundary under pressure. Do not call yourself foolish when you trusted a promise without examining its fruit. Do not call yourself lazy when fear made you avoid beginning. Do not call yourself broken when an old wound shaped a reaction that now needs to be retrained. Precise truth creates a doorway. Cruel labels build a wall. Condemnation declares a permanent identity and removes every option. Conviction names a specific response and shows you where another choice can enter. One says, there is no hope for me. The other says, this cannot continue, and I am not powerless before it. My beloved child, say this without excuses and without cruelty. I did this. It had a cost. With God's help, I can prepare a different response. You may not control when the message arrives, when the pressure rises, or when an old wound is touched. But you can examine the meaning you attach to that moment. And as you learn to challenge the old story, I will show you how a renewed mind creates room for a renewed response. My beloved child, the event and the meaning you give the event are not always the same. A reply is delayed. That is the event. I am unwanted is the meaning fear attaches to it. Someone disagrees with you. That is the event. I must defend myself or I will lose my worth is the story. A task feels difficult. That is the event. If I cannot do it perfectly, I should not begin, is the interpretation. Listen gently. The first thought is not always the truest thought. The loudest thought is not always my direction. To renew your mind is to bring the story into the light before you obey it. It is to stop at the threshold and ask, is this true? Is this wise? What will this belief produce if I follow it? 3 old voices have shaped many of your cycles. Urgency says, act now or lose everything. Scarcity says, this is your only chance to receive love, comfort, or relief. Helplessness says, this is simply who you are. Nothing will ever change. But I speak a steadier word. What is wise can withstand a responsible pause. Panic is not the same as guidance. What is healthy does not need confusion to control you. Loneliness does not make every relationship safe. Desire does not make every opportunity right. Discomfort does not make every form of relief good. Not every open door deserves your entrance. Not every available hand is prepared to hold your heart with care. And helplessness is lying to you, my child. You are already noticing the pattern sooner. You are naming it more clearly. You are listening before reacting. You are preparing instead of merely promising. This is not perfection, but it is growth. This is not completion, but it is movement. Do not confuse peace with comfort. A truthful decision may still hurt. Holding a boundary may bring tears. Saying no may leave the room quiet. Beginning imperfectly may awaken fear. Discomfort is not always danger. Sometimes discomfort is the feeling of an old chain losing its hold. And do not turn every powerful emotion, coincidence, dream, or outside opinion into a command. Test what moves you. Does it agree with truth? Does it strengthen your character? What consequences follow it? Can it withstand honest counsel from someone trustworthy? A strong impression may deserve examination, but it does not deserve blind obedience. Now speak the truth, connected to your cycle. I can be misunderstood without reacting tonight. Say it again. Relief is not worth violating my values. Again. Beginning imperfectly is better than escaping again. And again. No is a complete and honest answer. My beloved child, let these words become more than information. Rehearse them until they are available when pressure returns. A renewed life is built when private decisions begin agreeing with the person you are becoming. You may not feel ready when the old emotion rises. Readiness is not always a feeling. Sometimes readiness is obeying truth, while fear is still speaking. And when that moment comes, renewed thinking will need room to become renewed action. So, I will teach you the sacred pause, the protected space between what triggers you and what you choose next. My beloved child, pausing is not weakness. Hesitation is not failure when it keeps fear from making the decision. The world may tell you to answer quickly, defend yourself immediately, and seize every opportunity before it disappears. But wisdom is not measured by speed. The pause is a doorway. On one side stands the response you have rehearsed for years. On the other stands the response you are learning to practice. Without that doorway, you may know the truth and still never have time to apply it. So when pressure rises, stop. Stop speaking, stop typing. Do not send what anger has written. Name the trigger plainly. I feel ignored. I feel challenged. I feel lonely. I want relief. Notice your body. Feel the tightness in your chest, the heat in your face, the restlessness in your hands. Breathe slowly. Let your body receive the message that discomfort does not require immediate surrender. Then pray one honest sentence. God, separate what I feel from what is true. Show me what is mine to do, and keep fear from deciding for me. My child, create distance when you can. Leave the room. Put down the phone. Close the shopping page. Move the device away. Take a short walk. If you are avoiding a responsibility, place the task where you can see it and prepare only the next small action. Do not make a final decision while anger, panic, loneliness, or craving is flooding your mind unless immediate safety requires you to act. Give a reactive comment several minutes. Give a non-essential purchase an hour. Give a serious message the night. Give a major commitment enough time for prayer and trustworthy counsel. What is wise will not become false because you paused to examine it. Silence can protect you, but do not use silence to escape what must eventually be addressed. Say, I need time before I answer. I will return to this conversation tomorrow. This is not avoidance. It is responsible space with a clear return. And listen carefully. Pausing never means remaining in immediate danger. If there is threat, coercion, or abuse, create distance. Contact someone trustworthy. Seek professional or emergency support when necessary. Protection may require movement, not stillness. The goal is not perfect calm. You do not need every feeling to disappear before you choose wisely. You need enough awareness to stop moving automatically. Not panic, but prayer. Not impulse, but awareness. Not control, but trust. Not another old ending, but one protected next step. My beloved child, the pause will soon be tested where your old responses have been strongest, in the presence of people whose disappointment, anger, affection, or pressure once controlled your answer. And there, at the boundary, your growth will become visible. My beloved child, a boundary is easy to admire when no one is pressing against it. It becomes real when guilt enters the room, when anger rises in another person's voice, when affection awakens your hope, when loneliness makes the past look safer than it was, and when urgency demands an answer before wisdom has spoken. I see how you have over-explained, hoping enough words would make someone respect what they had already chosen to ignore. I see how you answered every accusation, returned when loneliness became louder than discernment, said yes to prevent disappointment, and treated mixed signals as evidence of hidden love. Listen gently. Not every demand deserves your yes. Not every misunderstanding requires an immediate defense. Not every open door should remain open simply because someone may knock again. I formed your heart to love, but an open heart does not require unguarded access. You can forgive and still refuse repeated harm. You can pray for someone without returning to the same destructive room. You can show compassion without surrendering your peace, your safety, or your convictions. Prepare your words before pressure returns. I will not continue this conversation while I am being insulted. I need time before I answer. I cannot agree to that without betraying a responsibility I already carry. My child, a boundary does not announce what another person must do. It declares what you will do. You cannot force them to speak respectfully, but you can end the conversation when they refuse. You cannot command them to become honest, but you can stop building trust where honesty is repeatedly absent. Silence can protect truth, but silence can also be misused. Protective silence creates room for safety, prayer, and clarity. Punitive silence withholds communication to control, frighten, or punish. Let your quietness be clean. If possible, state why you are stepping away and when you are willing to return. Do not build your decision on the person you imagine they may someday become. Look at what is visible now: consistency, accountability, humility, and the fruit their choices keep producing. Hope is precious, but hope must not be used to erase evidence. When attachment clouds your sight, speak with someone trustworthy, someone who will tell you the truth without taking control of your life, feeding your fear, or flattering your desire. And yes, maintaining the boundary may grieve you. You may miss them. You may question yourself when the room becomes quiet, but pain does not automatically mean the boundary was wrong. Sometimes grief is not a warning to return. Sometimes it is the sound of an unhealthy attachment releasing its hold. My beloved child, the cycle weakens each time you protect peace without hatred, speak truth without cruelty, and refuse pressure without abandoning love. And as this strength becomes visible in relationships, I will show you where it must also become visible in secret, in the quiet habits that have been stealing your time, your money, your focus, and your confidence. My beloved child, the cycles that shape a life are often sustained in moments no one else sees, not on a stage, not through one dramatic decision, but in the quiet room, before the message is sent, before the purchase is completed, before another hour disappears, before your automatic yes leaves your mouth. This is where hidden discipline becomes freedom. When anger writes a message, let it remain a draft. Do not send it merely because the words came quickly. Step away from the screen, pray, return later, and ask, is it true? Is it necessary? Can it be spoken without cruelty? You do not have to release every thought that pain produces. When a task feels too large, notice the old story demanding perfection. It says, if you cannot finish beautifully, do not begin at all. Answer it with 5 faithful minutes. Open the document, make the call, write the first sentence. Not perfection, but movement. Not the entire staircase, but the next step. When you want to buy something you did not plan to buy, ask what you truly desire. Is it the item or the relief you imagine it will provide? Place the purchase inside a waiting period. Look at the responsibilities already entrusted to you. Let the craving settle before your money answers it. When the device keeps pulling you away from prayer, work, meals, and sleep, do not wait for willpower to become stronger than constant access. Move the device. Place it outside the room. Silence what repeatedly interrupts you. Change the environment before temptation begins negotiating. When someone asks for more than you can honestly give, do not let your mouth promise what your life cannot carry. Say, let me review my commitments, and I will answer you later. A delayed, truthful answer is kinder than an immediate yes, followed by resentment, exhaustion, or failure. My child, choose one replacement response. Keep it small enough to repeat. You do not need to rebuild your entire life tonight. You need one faithful act that disagrees with the old cycle. Every unsent reaction, every delayed purchase, every 5-minute beginning, every protected hour, and every honest no becomes evidence. You are no longer only promising change. You are practicing it. The strength required for visible purpose is formed through private decisions that receive no applause. What you choose in the hidden room prepares you to carry what will one day be seen. So act today. Send no reactive reply. Remove one temptation. Begin one avoided responsibility. Uphold one boundary. And when progress is tested, do not be surprised. One future lapse will not mean you have become your former self again. My beloved child, I will show you how to return without shame, repair what was harmed, and keep one old response from becoming another season of captivity. My beloved child, if you slip into an old response, do not declare that every step of growth was false. One lapse does not erase every message you refused to send, every boundary you kept, every temptation you removed, or every responsibility you finally began. But listen gently. Grace does not ask you to pretend the lapse caused no harm. What happened matters. The question is not whether you stumbled. The question is how quickly and truthfully you will return. Shame says, your change was never real. Permission says, this does not matter. Both voices keep the cycle alive. Shame drives you into hiding. Permission leaves the door open. I am calling you toward another way, honest return. Become still, and review the moment without cruelty. What triggered you? What story did you believe? What rose in your body? Where could you have paused? Which prayer, boundary, environmental change, or trusted person did you prepare but fail to use? Do not answer these questions to punish yourself. Let them show you where the next attempt must become stronger. Then repair what you can. If your words caused harm, apologize without demanding immediate forgiveness. If you spent what was needed elsewhere, make a realistic plan to replace it. If you neglected a responsibility, begin completing it. If you violated your own boundary, state it again and support it with action. Emotional promises are not repair. Tears may be sincere, but sincerity must become preparation. Change the environment. Extend the waiting period. Contact accountability before the pressure peaks. Remove access to the familiar escape. Do not merely ask for greater strength while leaving every doorway to the old response unguarded. My child, learn to recognize progress accurately. Perhaps you noticed the cycle earlier. Perhaps it happens less often. Perhaps the damage was smaller, the repair was faster, or you told the truth without being confronted. These are not excuses. They are signs that practiced freedom is becoming stronger. Imagine that you briefly stepped back into an old room. You recognized the walls. You remembered the air. But entering for a moment does not require you to unpack your belongings, arrange the furniture, and live there again. Leave the room. Grace is not permission to preserve what is harming you. Grace is the strength to return, repair, learn, and practice again. Say this slowly. I will learn from this without naming myself by it. I will repair what I can, and I will prepare for the next trigger. My beloved child, now gather every lesson you have received. The final step is to write the new response before pressure returns, to form a clear covenant for the exact moment when the cycle tries to begin again. My beloved child, take what you have learned and write it plainly. Do not hide the cycle behind softer words. Write, when this trigger appears, I usually tell myself this story, and then I choose this response. Now write the new ending. When the trigger appears, I will notice the signal in my body. I will speak the truth I prepared. I will wait for the time I have chosen. I will contact the person I trust. I will take this alternative action. I will protect this boundary. Be specific. Name the waiting period. Name the person you will call. Name the action you will take. Name the door you will not reopen. Now picture the moment returning. See the message arrive. Feel the pressure rise. Hear the old story begin. But this time, watch yourself stop. Watch yourself breathe. Hear yourself pray. See your hand put down the phone. Close the page. Leave the room, or begin the task. Let your mind become familiar with obedience before the test comes. Then take one step now. Delete what repeatedly pulls you backward. Move the device. Close the shopping page. Prepare the boundary message. Begin the delayed responsibility. Schedule the accountability conversation. My child, open your hands and pray. Father, I confess the cycle I have repeated. I release the shame that called this pattern my identity. Renew my mind when fear distorts what I see. Give me courage to pause, strength to uphold honest boundaries, wisdom in my relationships, discipline in hidden moments, and grace to return when I fail. Teach me to choose truth before temporary relief. Lead me into freedom through faithful, practiced obedience. Amen. Remain quiet for a moment. Name the person, habit, fear, or form of relief you are no longer willing to obey. My beloved child, I see the struggle you concealed. I know the moments you regretted and the mornings when you wondered whether you would ever change. I am not leading you backward into condemnation. I am leading you forward into truth, freedom, rest, wisdom, and obedience. Enough hiding, enough reacting, enough abandoning your peace to preserve what drains you, enough allowing one pressured moment to decide what tomorrow must carry. This is not the end of hope. It is the end of automatic surrender. The next trigger may look familiar, but it will meet someone who has paused, prayed, prepared, and chosen differently. The old doorway may appear again, but you do not have to cross its threshold. If this message helped you recognize the cycle, subscribe and return whenever you need encouragement to keep practicing the new response. Share it with someone who may be fighting quietly, not as a condition for blessing, but as an act of support. My child, you are not waiting for a different life before you change your response. As your response changes, the cycle loses its claim on your life.